When I was a Gallaudet student, a group of my friends and I went to Florida, and we stayed in Key West for spring break. And we were just canoodling, having fun, just socializing, and we were ready to go, hop on a plane to go home. We went from Key West to Miami, and on that first flight, I got really airsick. And then from Miami to Washington, D.C., I started getting extremely dizzy. I had told my friend, oh, I really don't feel good. And she was like, oh yeah, I see that. And I was so dizzy. I decided to lay down, but I couldn't. So I sat back up, and I asked my friend to get the flight attendant. And the flight attendant came over, and they were like, what's wrong? And I told them I'm so dizzy. And they said, why don't you try in the back? I said, all right, fine, that's cool. And I got it, but I started running straight to the bathroom because, I felt so sick that I threw up. I was so dizzy the entire time. I went back to my seat and I went to sleep for the rest of the flight. And when we got there to Washington, D.C., my friends all came around behind me and they were like, are you okay? Are you okay? I was like, oh, I'm still dizzy. They were like, my friends, I was like, something's wrong. When we got up, they had to help me. It was like I was drunk. I was going this way and that way. It was just awful. I was walking all like I was seriously drunk. And then whenever we got out of the plane, I just became seriously dazed. I was so disoriented. So we told the security guard to come over with a wheelchair. And I sat in it and we went ahead and rolled out to the parking lot. My friend drove around the car to the front. And she said, something's wrong with Tiffany. She said she's really dizzy. And so they helped me into the car and we drove to Gallaudet. And again, they had to help me. They had to help me up to the elevator and then all the way to my room. And I got there and I started throwing up again. I told them, something's wrong. And they were like, are you drunk? And I was like, no. And then whenever that night was over, I told my roommate, I have to go to the hospital. And she was like, fine, that's okay, let's go. She called the taxi and it came around and we got in and we went to the emergency room. And then we waited. And again, I started throwing up again. I was so out of it, completely, just so out of it. And then later the doctor came in, looked at me, and he was like, so you went to Florida? And I was like, yeah, I went to Key West. And he said, was there something you ate? I was like, no, it was from the air. I feel like I got air sick and I was just so dizzy. I wondered why was I dizzy? I started thinking about it for a second. He says, I know what you have. And I was like, what do I have? He said, vertigo. I have vertigo? And he said, yeah, vertigo. Oh, it's like, wow. And I was like, what does that mean? And he said, it means you're completely out of your head, and it's very common in deaf people. It's just whenever you're in the air. So he gave me some medicine, but it didn't work. When we got back to Gallaudet, I was sick. I was sick again. I threw up. I couldn't eat anything at all. And I had to sleep. I had to keep the room completely dark. All the windows shut and the door had to be closed. It had to be dark so I could sleep. One night, I got up and I got really slow. I could barely open my eyes. When I finally got up, I had to guide myself down the wall, all the way down. And the bathroom was like right around the corner. So I went to the bathroom and I got done and I came and went back to sleep. For like 1 or 2 weeks I missed class because I was so sick. My uncle, he's deaf and he works at Gallaudet. He came to check on me. He was like, you have vertigo? And he was like, oh yeah. It kind of sucks, so I was like, well, I have it, and so now I accept it. It's fine. So moving on. It took a whole month for me to get better. And through that 1 month, I lost about 15 to 20 pounds. Because every time I tried to eat something, I would just throw it up. And then after that month, 1 month, it was finally gone. Just vertigo was just completely awful.